What if the greatest archaeological discoveries in history weren't found on land? What if they were deliberately submerged beneath thousands of feet of ocean water? The textbooks say civilization began around 6,000 years ago. Mesopotamia, Egypt, simple farming communities that slowly built toward complexity. But evidence keeps surfacing that contradicts this timeline. Literally surfacing from the ocean floor. Advanced structures, sophisticated engineering, monumental architecture that shouldn't exist according to accepted history. And here's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to address. How did these structures end up underwater? Sea levels have risen dramatically over millennia, but some of these sites sit at depths that suggest they were built when the ocean was hundreds of feet lower. That would place their construction during the last ice age, 10,000 years ago, 15,000, maybe older. Long before humans were supposed to have the technology or organization to build anything more complex than simple shelters. The evidence exists, photographed, measured, documented by marine archaeologists and deep-sea explorers, but it rarely makes headlines, rarely reaches mainstream archaeology journals, and when it does, it's dismissed as natural formations or explained away with theories that crumble under scrutiny. Today, we're diving into 10 ancient ruins discovered on the ocean floor, structures that challenge everything we think we know about human history. Fair warning, what you're about to hear contradicts the established timeline, questions the narrative taught in every history class. But the evidence is there, sitting on the seafloor, waiting for anyone willing to look. Some of these discoveries have been confirmed by multiple expeditions. Others remain disputed, buried under layers of academic resistance and institutional inertia. The pattern is consistent. When underwater ruins suggest advanced prehistoric civilization, the findings face extraordinary skepticism. When they can be explained within accepted history, they're celebrated. Notice the double standard. These 10 cases represent just a fraction of what's been found. Each one raises questions about who built these structures, when they were built, and why they're now underwater. The answers reshape human history, and that's exactly why they're inconvenient. Let's examine the evidence. Number 1 takes us off the coast of Japan, to a discovery that's been photographed thousands of times, studied by dozens of experts, and still remains officially classified as controversial. The Yonaguni Monument, 1986. A local dive instructor named Kihachiro Aratake is exploring the waters near Yonaguni Island, the southernmost point of Japan. He's looking for interesting dive sites, somewhere tourists might enjoy. What he discovers changes his life. Massive stone structures rise from the seafloor, terraces, platforms, steps carved at precise right angles. The formations are enormous, over 300 feet long, nearly 90 feet wide. They tower 60 feet from the ocean floor. But it's the details that matter. Perfectly straight edges, flat surfaces, right-angle corners, channels carved with geometric precision, steps of uniform height, platforms leveled with accuracy. Natural erosion doesn't create this. Wind and water produce irregular patterns, rounded edges, random formations. This is architectural, deliberate, engineered. Marine geologist Masaaki Kimura spends years studying the site. He documents tool marks, post holes, drainage channels. He finds what appears to be a carved face, a turtle sculpture, symbols etched into stone surfaces. Kimura concludes these are man-made structures, built on land before sea levels rose, then submerged as Ice Age glaciers melted. Based on dating of stalactites found in underwater caves nearby, he estimates the site was last above water around 10,000 years ago. That's 8,000 years before the Egyptian pyramids, 5,000 years before Stonehenge, long before Japanese civilization was supposed to exist in any organized form. The mainstream response? Geological formation, natural sandstone erosion, coincidental shapes. But geologists who've studied similar formations worldwide say sandstone doesn't fracture this way. It doesn't create uniform steps. It doesn't produce right angles with this consistency. Professor Robert Schoch from Boston University visited the site. a respected geologist who studied formations around the world. He concluded the structures show both natural and artificial features. Nature provided the base. Humans modified and shaped it. But even that moderate position was too much for many academics. Suggesting human modification 10,000 years ago contradicts accepted Japanese history. So, the debate continues. The evidence sits underwater, photographed in detail, measured precisely, and the questions remain unanswered. Who built this? How did they have the tools and knowledge? And what else did they build that's now underwater? Number 2 sits in the Mediterranean Sea, off the coast of Alexandria, Egypt, the lost city of Heracleion, also called Thonis. For centuries, this city was considered mythological, mentioned in ancient Greek texts but never found. Greek historian Herodotus wrote about it in the 5th century BC, described it as a major port city where Helen of Troy and Paris sought refuge. But no trace of it existed on land. No ruins, no artifacts, nothing. Archaeologists assumed it was legendary, another mythical city confused with real locations. Then in 2000, French archaeologist Franck Gaudiot made an extraordinary discovery. 4 miles off the Egyptian coast, 30 feet underwater, he found Heracleion, an entire ancient city, remarkably preserved beneath the Mediterranean. Massive statues, granite pillars, temple remains, ships, thousands of artifacts, gold coins, bronze objects, ceramic pottery, inscriptions confirming the city's identity. The city was enormous. Evidence suggests it was Egypt's largest port before Alexandria was founded. It thrived from around the 8th century BC until the 8th century AD, over 1,500 years of continuous occupation. Then something catastrophic happened. The entire city collapsed into the sea. Earthquakes, soil liquefaction. The ground beneath the city literally dissolved. Within decades, perhaps even days, Heracleion vanished beneath the waves. Here's what makes this significant. This wasn't a gradual submersion. This was sudden, catastrophic collapse. How many other cities suffered similar fates? How many advanced civilizations disappeared so completely that they became legends? Heracleion was lucky. It was mentioned in texts. Greeks and Romans wrote about it. But what about cities that weren't documented by literate civilizations? What about ports and settlements from before written history? They would vanish without trace, dismissed as impossible if anyone suggested they existed. The Heracleion discovery proved that major cities can disappear completely, that advanced civilizations can be erased so thoroughly that they're forgotten. Gaudiot's team has recovered over 70 ships from the site, hundreds of anchors, thousands of artifacts. The preservation is remarkable. Buried in sediment, protected from oxygen and decay, these ships provide evidence of sophisticated maritime trade, complex naval architecture, advanced navigation techniques, all from a city that was completely forgotten, that academics considered mythological. The discovery answered questions about ancient Egypt, but it raised bigger ones. If a major port city with stone monuments and literate civilization can vanish completely, what else is hidden underwater? What civilizations disappeared before they could record their existence in texts that survived? The ocean holds those answers. And every year, new discoveries suggest the story of human civilization is far older and more complex than textbooks claim. Number 3 takes us to the Caribbean. Off the western coast of Cuba, in 2000, a team using advanced sonar equipment detected something impossible at extreme depth. Paulina Zalitsky and her husband Paul Weinsweig were conducting geological surveys off Cuba's Guanaacabibes Peninsula. They were mapping the ocean floor, looking for shipwrecks and natural formations. The sonar readings showed structures at depths of 2,300 feet, nearly half a mile down. But these weren't natural formations. The sonar revealed geometric shapes, pyramid-like structures, organized patterns, symmetrical arrangements that suggested city planning, roads, buildings, plazas. The team conducted multiple surveys, analyzed the data carefully, sent down remote submersibles with cameras. The video footage showed smooth stone blocks, apparent roadways, structures arranged in patterns. Some formations appeared pyramidal, others looked like building foundations. Linear arrangements suggested streets or walls. The most striking images showed what resembled a large cross carved into stone. Enormous circular formations, structures with apparent right angles. Canadian National Geographic funded follow-up research. Multiple institutions examined the data. The consensus among researchers who analyzed the evidence? These formations warrant serious investigation. But here's the problem. If these are man-made structures, they're sitting at a depth that requires catastrophic explanation. To be built on dry land, sea levels would need to be hundreds of feet lower. That places construction during the last ice age or earlier, at least 10,000 years ago, possibly 50,000 years or more. No accepted civilization existed in the Caribbean with the technology to build monumental stone architecture at that time. The earliest known Caribbean settlements date to around 6,000 years ago. Simple communities, without advanced construction. These structures would predate them by millennia, by tens of millennia potentially. The implications are extraordinary. Either sea levels dropped catastrophically in recent geological history, or an unknown civilization built these structures when the area was above water. Neither explanation fits comfortably with accepted history or geology, so the site remains officially classified as requiring further research. Translation: too controversial to pursue. The depth makes investigation expensive. Each dive costs tens of thousands of dollars. Remote submersibles are required. The pressure at that depth destroys standard equipment. But the real obstacle isn't financial. It's academic. No institution wants to fund research that might overturn fundamental assumptions about human history. So the structures sit there, half a mile beneath the Caribbean, documented but unexplained. Geometric patterns at impossible depths, evidence of something that shouldn't exist. And the mainstream response? Natural formations, geological features. Nothing to see here. But the sonar doesn't lie. The video footage exists. The measurements are precise. Something is down there. And whatever it is, it doesn't fit the accepted timeline. Number 4 brings us to the coast of Gujarat, India, to a discovery that rewrites Indian history. The lost city of Dwarka, mentioned in ancient Hindu texts as the kingdom of Lord Krishna. For centuries, it was considered mythological, a legendary city from religious scripture. The Mahabharata describes Dwarka as a magnificent city, advanced architecture, sophisticated planning, a jewel of ancient India. According to the texts, the city was eventually swallowed by the sea after Krishna's death. Most historians treated this as religious mythology, symbolic stories, not literal history. Then in 1983, marine archaeologist Dr. S.R. Rao made a discovery in the Gulf of Cambay. Underwater structures off the modern city of Dwarka, stone walls, building foundations, artifacts. The initial findings were modest, but they confirmed underwater ruins existed in the exact location described in ancient texts. Over the following decades, multiple expeditions expanded the search. Advanced sonar mapping, underwater excavation, carbon dating. What emerged was extraordinary. Evidence of a substantial ancient settlement, built on land, now submerged. Stone anchors, pottery, seals with ancient writing, construction materials, defensive walls. The structures showed sophisticated engineering, harbor facilities, organized streets, evidence of urban planning. Carbon dating of recovered artifacts suggested the site was occupied around 3,000 years ago, roughly matching the period described in Hindu texts. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2002, another survey in the same region detected even older structures. Sonar readings showed massive ruins at greater depths, over 100 feet down, covering several square miles. These structures appeared much older, potentially 7,000 to 9,000 years old, based on their depth and geological context. Regular geometric patterns, grid-like arrangements, structures that suggested organized construction. If verified, this would place significant urban development in India thousands of years before the Indus Valley civilization, before Mesopotamia, before Egypt, before any accepted advanced society in the region. The findings sparked intense debate. Some archaeologists called it the most significant discovery in Indian history. Others dismissed it as natural formations misinterpreted as structures. The Indian government funded additional research, collected samples, analyzed data, but official conclusions remained cautious. More research needed. Findings inconclusive. Translation: the implications are too significant to confirm without absolute certainty. Because if an advanced civilization existed in India 9,000 years ago, it challenges fundamental assumptions about human development. It suggests the ancient Hindu texts weren't just mythology. They were describing real cities, real history. And if those texts accurately describe Dwarka, what else do they describe accurately? What other legendary cities might be historical fact, now buried beneath the ocean? The evidence sits underwater. The ruins remain. The questions multiply. Number 5 takes us to the Mediterranean again, between Sicily and Tunisia, the Strait of Sicily, where researchers discovered something that challenges geological and archaeological timelines simultaneously. In 2015, ocean researcher Emanuele Lodolo from the National Institute of Oceanography in Italy made a peculiar discovery. His team was conducting geological surveys, mapping the ocean floor, looking for tectonic features. They found a massive stone monolith, 40 feet long, 12 feet wide, weighing an estimated 15 tons. The stone showed clear evidence of working: straight edges, regular holes, signs of human modification. 3 holes were drilled into the stone with remarkable precision. Each hole was identical in size and position. The stone appeared to have been cut from a larger outcrop, transported, then positioned deliberately. Analysis revealed the rock was a type of limestone not naturally found in that location. It had been moved from elsewhere. Carbon dating of shell deposits that formed on the stone suggested it had been submerged for approximately 9,600 years. That places it underwater since the end of the last ice age, when massive glacial melting raised sea levels dramatically. But here's the critical detail. The stone sits at depths consistent with it being placed on dry land before flooding. Someone quarried this stone, shaped it, drilled precise holes into it, transported it, and erected it as some kind of monument or marker. Nearly 10,000 years ago, in a region that supposedly had no advanced civilization at that time, the Mediterranean wasn't supposed to have monumental stone construction until much later. The first Mediterranean civilizations emerged around 5,000 years ago. This predates them by 5 millennia, 5,000 years before Minoans, before Mycenaeans, before any known Mediterranean culture. Lodolo's team published their findings in peer-reviewed journals, presented evidence, showed photographs and measurements. The stone clearly shows human modification. The holes are too precise to be natural. The positioning appears deliberate. But the implications? An unknown civilization working stone with precision technology 9,600 years ago. A civilization advanced enough to quarry, transport, and erect multi-ton monuments. A civilization that was completely erased when sea levels rose, leaving only this one stone as evidence they existed. The response from mainstream archaeology? Silence. A few papers suggested alternative explanations. Natural formation, unusual erosion patterns. But the evidence doesn't support those theories. The holes are too regular, the edges too straight. This was manufactured by humans nearly 10,000 years ago. And if this stone exists, how many others are buried in Mediterranean sediment? How many monuments were erected by this unknown culture? The ocean rose hundreds of feet. Entire coastlines vanished. Any coastal civilization would have been completely inundated. Their cities, their monuments, their evidence, all underwater, all forgotten. This single stone survived because it was solid, heavy, permanent. Everything else? Washed away, dissolved, scattered across the seafloor. But the stone remains. Proof that someone was there. Someone with technology. Someone building monuments. 9,600 years ago. Number 6 brings us to the Bahamas, to an underwater formation that sparked 50 years of heated debate. The Bimini Road, also called the Bimini Wall. 1968. Pilot Robert Brush is flying over the shallow waters near North Bimini Island. He notices something unusual beneath the clear water, a linear formation, stones arranged in patterns. He alerts archaeologist J. Manson Valentine. Together they investigate. What they find appears to be a constructed roadway or wall, stretches of stone blocks arranged in straight lines. The formation extends roughly half a mile. Large rectangular limestone blocks, some weighing several tons. The stones appear fitted together, creating a linear path or wall just below the water surface. Some blocks have regular shapes, squared corners, flat tops, like hewn building stones. Valentine and his team documented the site extensively, photographed the blocks, measured the formations. They proposed this was a man-made structure, built when sea levels were lower, then submerged as water rose. Based on the position and depth, they estimated construction around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. The discovery gained attention because of its proximity to the location where Edgar Cayce predicted Atlantean ruins would be found. Cayce, a famous psychic, had predicted in 1940 that Atlantis ruins would be discovered near Bimini in 1968 or 69. The timing of the discovery matched his prediction almost exactly. This brought unwanted attention and immediate skepticism. Mainstream geologists argued the formation was natural, beach rock, fractured limestone, not artificial construction. They claimed natural erosion patterns could create linear arrangements, that the apparent blocks were geological formations. But researchers who studied the site closely found problems with that explanation. The stones showed evidence of multiple layers. Lower stones appeared deliberately placed beneath upper stones, like foundation and superstructure. Some blocks had regular tool marks, others showed evidence of shaping. Proponents argued that if this was natural beach rock, similar formations should exist elsewhere in the Bahamas. They don't. No other beach rock formations show this level of organization or linear arrangement. The debate has continued for decades. Multiple expeditions, competing analyses, no consensus. What's clear is this: the formation exists. It shows unusual regularity, and it's positioned at depths, suggesting it was above water thousands of years ago. Whether it's natural or artificial remains disputed. But the possibility that it's man-made can't be dismissed without explanation. If these are constructed blocks, they represent sophisticated stoneworking, massive construction, organized planning, all from a time when the Caribbean supposedly had no civilization capable of such engineering. The site remains accessible, shallow enough for snorkeling. Thousands have seen it personally. Some see obvious artificial construction, others see natural patterns. The official position: geological formation, natural processes. Case closed. But the questions persist. The unusual features remain unexplained, and the formation keeps attracting researchers who see evidence of human design, natural or artificial. The debate continues. But one thing is certain: if it is man-made, it's evidence of advanced prehistoric construction in the Americas, thousands of years before accepted history allows. Number 7 takes us to the Black Sea, to a discovery that proved catastrophic flooding isn't mythology. For decades, researchers noticed something peculiar about ancient flood myths. Nearly every culture has them. The Bible describes Noah's flood. Mesopotamian texts tell of Gilgamesh surviving a deluge. Greek myths speak of Deucalion's flood. Hindu texts, Chinese legends, Native American stories, flood myths appear worldwide. Mainstream archaeology treated these as religious mythology, symbolic stories, not historical records. But in 1999, marine geologists Robert Ballard and Frederick Hebert made a discovery that changed that assessment. They were exploring the Black Sea, using advanced sonar and remote submersibles. 300 feet beneath the surface, they found ancient shorelines, river valleys, evidence of dry land. Then they found human settlements, stone tools, wooden structures, pottery, dwellings, all preserved underwater, all clearly built on dry land before flooding. Carbon dating revealed these settlements were approximately 7,500 years old. The evidence painted a clear picture. The Black Sea was once much smaller. A freshwater lake surrounded by fertile land. Communities thrived on its shores, farming, fishing, building permanent settlements. Then catastrophic flooding occurred. The Mediterranean Sea breached natural barriers. Salt water poured in with devastating force. The freshwater lake became a saltwater sea. Water levels rose hundreds of feet, rapidly, violently. Entire coastal communities were inundated. Settlements disappeared overnight. People fled or drowned. The flooding was so rapid and devastating that it would have seemed apocalyptic to survivors. Researchers estimate the water rose at a rate of 6 inches per day. Doesn't sound dramatic until you calculate the result. That's 15 feet per month, nearly 200 feet per year. The entire coastal zone submerged in months. Survivors would have witnessed their world literally drowning, their villages, their fields, their entire civilization vanishing beneath rising water. This wasn't mythology. This was historical trauma, recorded in oral traditions, passed down as flood stories. The Black Sea discovery proved that catastrophic flooding did occur, that ancient peoples did experience apocalyptic water disasters, and if it happened in the Black Sea, it happened elsewhere, multiple times, throughout human prehistory. Every time glaciers melted rapidly, every time ice dams burst, every time geological events triggered massive water displacement, coastal civilizations would have been destroyed, their settlements submerged, their evidence lost. Only their stories survived. Stories we dismissed as mythology. The Black Sea ruins prove those stories had basis in fact, that ancient peoples were describing real events, real catastrophes that destroyed real civilizations. How many other flood myths describe actual historical events? How many submerged ruins wait to be discovered? The Black Sea was just one region, one event, one catastrophic flooding. Similar disasters occurred worldwide as Ice Age ended, as glaciers melted, as sea levels rose 400 feet. Every coastal civilization from that era is now underwater. Every port, every settlement, every monument. The evidence of early human civilization sits beneath hundreds of feet of ocean, buried in sediment, lost to history, until researchers like Ballard prove it existed, one flooded settlement at a time. Number 8 takes us back to India, to another controversial discovery in the Gulf of Cambay. In 2001, marine scientists from India's National Institute of Ocean Technology were conducting pollution studies. They were using side-scan sonar, mapping the seafloor, looking for contamination sources. Instead, they found something extraordinary: massive structures at depths of 120 feet. The sonar revealed what appeared to be ruins covering over 5 square miles, an enormous area, geometric patterns, organized layouts, structures suggesting city planning. The formations showed regular shapes, linear arrangements, features that looked like walls, foundations, and organized spaces. The team collected samples, recovered artifacts, wood pieces, pottery fragments, semi-precious stones. What made this discovery explosive was the carbon dating. The wood samples dated to 9,500 years old. If accurate, this would make the site one of the oldest human settlements ever discovered, predating Egyptian civilization by 6,000 years, predating Mesopotamian cities by 5,000 years, older than any accepted cradle of civilization. The Indian government announced the findings with excitement, called it potentially revolutionary. Then the skepticism began. International archaeologists questioned the dating. disputed the interpretation. Critics argued the artifacts could have washed down rivers, that natural formations were being misidentified, that carbon dating of wood in marine environments is unreliable. But the team had anticipated these objections. They'd recovered multiple artifacts, conducted extensive analysis. They found human teeth, fossilized bones, worked stone, pottery with geometric patterns. Sonar revealed structures with apparent right angles, organized streets, evidence of planning. One piece of recovered wood showed clear tool marks, shaping, human modification. The artifacts came from multiple locations across the site, not concentrated, as if deposited by rivers. The formations appeared too organized to be natural geological features. Multiple research institutions examined the evidence. Some supported the findings, others remained skeptical. The Indian government funded additional surveys. More artifacts recovered, more dating performed. Some samples confirmed the 9,000-year timeline. Others showed more recent dates. The site appeared to have multiple occupation layers, different time periods, long-term settlement. If the oldest dates are accurate, this represents an advanced urban civilization in India, while the rest of the world supposedly lived in simple hunter-gatherer bands. A civilization with organized cities, planned layouts, sophisticated construction. A civilization that was completely submerged when sea levels rose, leaving no trace except these underwater ruins. The implications challenged everything. The origins of civilization, the development of urban planning, the timeline of human advancement. So the findings were buried in academic debate, classified as requiring further research, left in institutional limbo. The ruins remain underwater. The artifacts sit in storage. The questions go unanswered. Because answering them means rewriting history, means admitting our timeline is wrong, means acknowledging that advanced civilization existed thousands of years earlier than accepted. The evidence exists. The dates are confirmed. The structures documented. But the implications are too revolutionary, too challenging to established narratives. So the discovery sits, acknowledged but disputed, documented but dismissed, waiting for the day when evidence matters more than academic comfort. Number 9 brings us to the coast of Taiwan, to underwater pyramids that weren't supposed to exist. 1992. Scuba divers exploring waters near Yonaguni Island discovered something extraordinary at 100 feet depth. Pyramid-like structures, multiple formations, rising from the seafloor in geometric arrangements. The structures showed precise angles, flat surfaces, apparent terraces and platforms. One formation resembled a stepped pyramid, 5 distinct levels, each level smaller than the one below. The precision was striking. Angles appeared calculated, surfaces flat and level, edges sharp and defined. Marine geologist Masaaki Kimura led investigation efforts. He documented dimensions, took measurements, analyzed the formations. The largest pyramid structure stands nearly 75 feet tall, built on multiple tiers, with apparent staircases and ramps. Kimura found what appeared to be roads connecting different structures, carved channels, post holes suggesting wooden supports once existed. He discovered symbols carved into stones, geometric patterns, possible writing or measurement marks. The formations included what looked like a carved face, a turtle shape, deliberate artistic elements. Natural erosion doesn't create this. Geological processes don't produce stepped pyramids. Water and weather don't carve geometric symbols. This showed planning, engineering, artistic intention. Based on geological analysis and coral growth patterns, Kimura estimated the structures were last above water around 10,000 years ago, the same time frame as other underwater discoveries worldwide, the end of the Ice Age, when sea levels rose dramatically. But here's what makes this significant. Pyramids require advanced mathematics, understanding of geometry, sophisticated planning. Ancient cultures that built pyramids were considered highly advanced. Egypt, Mesoamerica, Mesopotamia. Yet here are pyramid structures potentially older than any of those civilizations, built by an unknown culture. A culture that understood geometry, that could organize massive construction projects, that created monumental architecture 10,000 years ago. In a region where accepted history claims no such civilization existed, the mainstream response followed a familiar pattern: natural formations, geological features, erosion patterns misinterpreted. But Kimura has spent decades studying geological formations worldwide. He's examined natural erosion patterns, documented how stone weathers in marine environments. His conclusion is unwavering. These are artificial structures, modified and shaped by humans. Other geologists who visited remain divided. Some agree with Kimura, others insist on natural origins. The debate reveals the fundamental problem. Evidence that challenges accepted history faces extraordinary resistance. Evidence that confirms accepted history is readily embraced. The pyramids remain underwater, accessible to divers, photographed thousands of times. Tour operators bring visitors. Researchers continue documenting. The structures don't change, but opinions remain polarized. Artificial or natural, advanced prehistoric civilization or geological coincidence. The formations themselves don't care about academic debates. They exist regardless of interpretation. Massive, geometric, precise, shaped into pyramid forms beneath the Pacific. Evidence of something that shouldn't exist, built by someone we don't acknowledge, waiting beneath the waves for the day when questions matter more than accepted answers. Number 10 takes us to perhaps the most famous legendary location in history, the one that started it all: Atlantis, the lost civilization described by Plato in 360 BC. For centuries, it was considered pure fiction, a philosophical allegory, not a real place. Plato described an advanced island civilization, powerful navy, sophisticated architecture, technological achievement beyond contemporary societies. Then the civilization was destroyed in a single day and night, sunk beneath the ocean, vanished completely. Most historians treated this as invented mythology, a story Plato created to make philosophical points. But some researchers took it seriously, searched for evidence, proposed locations. Dozens of sites have been suggested: the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, the Caribbean, Antarctica. Most lack supporting evidence. Wishful thinking, speculation, no hard proof. But in 2004, satellite imaging revealed something intriguing off the coast of Spain, in the marshlands of Doñana National Park, near Cadiz, in the exact region Plato described. Researcher Richard Freund led an expedition, using ground-penetrating radar, satellite analysis, archaeological surveys. What they found matched Plato's description with unsettling accuracy. Concentric circles, multiple rings, exactly as described, buried beneath marsh sediment, hidden under meters of soil and water. The formation showed organized structure, human engineering, city planning, multiple rings of land and water, a pattern unique to Plato's description of Atlantis. The site sits in a region that experienced catastrophic tsunamis. Archaeological evidence confirms massive flooding destroyed coastal settlements. Around 4,000 years ago, a period matching some interpretations of Plato's timeline. But here's where it gets complicated. Plato's account contains specific details. 9,000 years before his time, an island beyond the Pillars of Hercules. The Spanish site doesn't match all details. The timeline is wrong. The location is coastal, not an island. So is this Atlantis? Or a different civilization that inspired the Atlantis story? Or is Atlantis still waiting to be discovered, perhaps at greater depths, perhaps in locations not yet explored? The archaeological reality is this: advanced civilizations did exist in prehistoric times. Many were destroyed by natural disasters. Some were completely erased. Others left fragments, ruins, legends. Plato's account might be based on real events, real civilizations, real catastrophic destruction. Whether that civilization was literally Atlantis or something else is almost irrelevant. The pattern is clear. Advanced societies existed earlier than accepted history acknowledges. Many were destroyed. Many left no trace except legends. And many of those legends describe the same thing: advanced civilization, catastrophic flooding, complete destruction. Those stories come from around the world. Different cultures, different continents, different time periods. They describe the same events, the same pattern, the same loss. Real civilizations were destroyed by real catastrophes. Real people survived and passed down real memories. Those memories became legends. Those legends became mythology. That mythology was dismissed as fiction. But the underwater ruins keep proving the legends had truth. Keep showing that catastrophic destruction did occur. Keep revealing that human civilization is older and more complex than textbooks claim. Atlantis might remain undiscovered, might never be found, might be misidentified among dozens of proposed sites. But the reality Plato described, advanced prehistoric civilization destroyed by catastrophe, that's not legend. That's documented fact, proven by underwater archaeology worldwide. The ruins exist. The evidence is clear. The pattern undeniable. Civilizations rose, built monuments, achieved advancement, then vanished beneath rising seas. Their cities became seafloor ruins, their achievements forgotten, their existence denied, until researchers dove deep enough to find them, to photograph them, to prove they were real. 10 ancient ruins, 10 sites that challenge accepted history, 10 pieces of evidence buried beneath the ocean. From Japan to the Caribbean, from India to the Mediterranean, from the Black Sea to Taiwan, the pattern repeats. Advanced structures underwater, positioned at depths suggesting they were built on dry land, during periods when humans supposedly lacked the technology. The Yonaguni Monument with its precise geometric cuts, the Gulf of Cambay structures dating back 9,000 years, the Mediterranean monolith with drilled holes from nearly 10 millennia ago. Each discovery faces the same resistance: natural formations, geological coincidence, misinterpretation. But the evidence doesn't disappear because it's inconvenient. The ruins remain, the measurements stand, the dating is confirmed. These structures exist. They show human modification. They predate accepted civilization timelines. The implications are clear. Advanced human societies existed earlier than textbooks claim, much earlier. They built monuments, worked stone with precision, organized complex construction projects. Then catastrophic events destroyed them: rising sea levels, earthquakes, tsunamis, floods. Their cities were submerged, their evidence buried, their achievements forgotten. Only their legends survived. Stories of advanced ancestors, tales of lost civilizations, myths of catastrophic floods. We dismiss those stories as primitive mythology, superstition, religious allegory. But underwater archaeology keeps proving the stories had truth, that ancient peoples were describing real events, real catastrophes, real lost civilizations. The question isn't whether these structures exist. They've been photographed, measured, documented. The question is why mainstream archaeology resists acknowledging what they represent. Because accepting them means rewriting the timeline, means admitting our understanding of human development is incomplete, means acknowledging that civilization is thousands of years older than established narratives claim. The ocean holds the evidence. 400 feet of sea level rise since the Ice Age ended. Entire coastlines submerged. Any coastal civilization from that era is now underwater. Every port, every city, every monument. The cradles of civilization were coastal. Rivers, harbors, trade routes, always near water. Those areas are now beneath hundreds of feet of ocean, buried in sediment, lost to history. Until technology allows us to search, to map the seafloor, to discover what's been hidden, each discovery adds to the picture, confirms the pattern, proves the timeline is wrong. Human civilization is older than we thought, more advanced than we knew, more widespread than we imagined. The evidence exists beneath the waves, waiting for researchers willing to look, waiting for institutions brave enough to acknowledge it. The ruins don't lie. The dating doesn't change. The structures remain. All that's required is willingness to accept what the evidence shows, to question accepted narratives, to follow truth wherever it leads. The ocean keeps revealing its secrets, one submerged ruin at a time, one impossible structure after another. The pattern is undeniable. The implications are revolutionary. The evidence is overwhelming. Human history is being rewritten, not by theory or speculation, but by hard evidence found on the ocean floor. The ancient ruins are there, documented, real, undeniable. The only question remaining is when mainstream science will accept what the evidence has been showing all along. We are far older than we remember, far more advanced than we knew, and far more vulnerable to catastrophe than we care to admit. The ocean floor holds our forgotten history, and every discovery brings us closer to remembering who we really are.